Hello and welcome to LA Currents. I'm Saida Pagan. Today we are in conversation with Raquel Beltran, the new general manager of the Los Angeles Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, also known as Empower LA. Now, Ms. Beltran has spent the last 3 decades in public service throughout the state of California, serving in executive positions with a number of entities, including the City of San Diego, the League of Women Voters, and the American Red Cross. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ms. Beltran.
Very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting.
You were appointed a few months ago, so tell us what you've been doing in that time. I know you've been hard at work meeting with some of these councils.
Well, I initiated a listening tour with the neighborhood councils, and I averaged 6 neighborhood councils a week. I've been able to visit about 59 neighborhood councils, and it has been a wonderful experience talking and listening with the elected leadership from the communities all over Los Angeles.
A lot of public officials have gotten their start with the neighborhood councils. Tell us how that's possible.
That's my favorite part of this system. Whenever anybody decides that they're going to start interfacing with government, start attending government meetings, start figuring out what avenues exist in order for you to be able to express yourself, your thoughts, and to serve your community, you've already taken a step forward in learning how to govern, how to become an elected official.
My name is Lily Larson. I'm 17 and I've been an activist since I was 5. There is no age too young to get involved in your community. Let's come together and make change for the highest good, for our neighborhoods, for our city, our state, our country, and our planet.
Now, we know that Los Angeles, being a big city, has many challenges and many issues: crime, homelessness, street repair. What are some of the concerns that you're hearing, and how do they vary from different parts of the city?
There are some consistencies throughout the system. Everybody's concerned about public safety. Everybody's concerned about homelessness. And on the listening tour, I can hear and see people engaging in those discussions in a very unique way, because it relates to the way in which those communities experience those issues. Some communities are more concerned about emergency preparedness. Some communities are more concerned about education or the absence of education. Some of the communities are more concerned about infrastructure development. For us as a department, we have to give each of them the customized support that they need in order to meet their particular needs based on the manner in which they would like to be involved in those discussions and issues.
Are you hearing anything that's surprising to you?
There are aspects of the neighborhood council system that people really don't understand. And that aspect is the extent to which, at a very local level, people are communicating with their government at a very local level. So I'll tell a story about, I like to observe their meetings before I make my presentation. And one story I remember is a gentleman that was testifying before his neighborhood council. He was articulate in his own way, expressing himself in his own way with as clear language as he possibly could to make his case statement for support for this particular project that he thought was important. But he was speaking to his peers. He was speaking to people from the community. It was at a meeting that was very local for him. That person would never have traveled to City Hall to advocate for his community. It would be far too intimidating for him, but he will go to his neighborhood council and ask for the support that he thinks is important for the community. That's the beauty of the neighborhood council system.
Things are changing so fast in our society. What do you expect to see with Empower LA in the next few years?
What I see happening rapidly is an increase in the number and the experience that young people are developing by being elected and appointed to serve on these neighborhood councils. The numbers are increasing all over the city.
We're both running for positions in the city of Van Nuys. and we just want to get more information on how to start building our campaign, and also getting information on how we can make our city better and what are specific roles that we can do to make our community a lot better.
They are energetic. They're inspired by other young people around the world who are getting engaged for a variety of reasons in their communities and in global issues, and the neighborhood council system provides people that opportunity.
Now, I'm sure there are people who are watching who would like to get involved, so give us some first steps.
So I encourage people to start by just going to our website, empowerla.org, research which neighborhood council is near your home, attend those meetings. I always tell people, just go check it out, see what's happening, get on the list so that you can start receiving the agenda, so that you can become familiar with what they're discussing, start attending the meetings. And then when you feel comfortable, throw your hat in the ring, become a candidate. Ask the Neighborhood Empowerment Advocate to help you in that process, to help you learn more about it. They're available to give you that kind of support.
So now let's talk about your vision for Empower LA. What do you feel is working and what needs to be fine-tuned?
Well, what I think is working and what I'm happy about is that I am inheriting the department after it has basically been reconstructed itself. And there were, during the city's difficult economic times, the department has been almost decimated in terms of the staff support. What we do is work with people, and that means we need people who are trained and competent and operating in a consistent manner across the department, meaning across the city, to provide that direct neighborhood council support to these important volunteer individuals that sacrifice a lot of time away from their family in order to make this system work and serve their communities. So I am inheriting the department at a time that it was kind of on the upswing of reconstructing itself and building its capacity to do a good job in support of the neighborhood councils. So what I look forward to is moving that forward. And there are 4 goals that we have in the department, and one is to improve our relationship with neighborhood councils. Some NCs have very good relationships with us. In some cases, they're not the relationship that we would like to have. We want to make sure we have a good relationship with all the councils. We want to make sure that we are providing them the kind of support that they need, the direct neighborhood council support, so that they're not bogged down worrying about the bureaucracy. We can do that for them, and so that they can focus on their grants and their community projects and their events. A third goal is to be a thought partner with the neighborhood councils, a strategic thought partner. If they would like us to serve in that role, we might know something about what's happening in the department, or with an elected official, they can inform their decisions regarding advocacy or even their community impact statements. We can be a thought partner for them. And the last goal, these are not in order of priority, is to be a resource for city departments in their interfacing with neighborhood councils and communities. We are the grassroots department of the city of Los Angeles. Cities don't have grassroots departments normally, and we're very proud of the position that we have to be able to provide that support to all city departments and to the community as a whole.
How often do these neighborhood councils meet?
Neighborhood councils meet on a monthly basis, typically, and they also have committees. Those committees often meet on a monthly basis. Neighborhood council leaders average about 15-20 hours a week of volunteer service. These are unpaid local elected officials.
Get educated. Participate.
Meet your neighbors.
Be part of the solution.
Empower LA.
Now, you work so hard. You're out there listening to everyone.
I try.
Yes. What are some of your other interests?
Well, certainly my family is the #1 interest, and I have tremendous support from my family, otherwise I couldn't do the listening tour. And the other thing I do is I founded a nonprofit that teaches children how to play mariachi music. They're ages 5 to 17. We've been doing it for 20 years. I think we're on our 5th generation of students. They're beginning, intermediate, and advanced students, and it's like therapy for the soul, so I enjoy that quite a bit.
Well, thank you for all you do.
You're welcome.
For empowering us to find out more about government and so much about ourselves.
It is my pleasure.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of LA Currents. I'm Saida Pagan.
In this ever-changing, complicated world, for a young person determining what they want to be when they grow up is also partnered with who they want to be and how to get there. But fortunately, there's a wonderful organization to help. I'm delighted to be joined by Clay Mitchell, the State Director of SkillsUSA. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Marie.
All right. SkillsUSA obviously has a vast array of things that they offer young people in determining, what course they want to take in their lives. What does SkillsUSA do?
So SkillsUSA is a career technical student organization. So that's a nice education jargon that talks about how do we help students make quality decisions for careers and what do they need to do to get there so they can be successful in life. People from business and industries that are looking for our products, which are our students, come to an event. The California event is about 3,200 students, and the national event is about 8,000 students. They come in, they have their time slot, and they perform whatever skill or task that they have set up from business and industry with their knowledge and their skill set. Back in the 50s and 60s when they did this, it was the things that the boys typically did. And so it was carpentry and plumbing and those sorts of things, those kinds of skills. Now we've expanded that to include culinary arts, speech, healthcare. There's a lot of different areas that we work in through SkillsUSA and help provide leadership training for those students and help them make good choices so they can be successful.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I found so interesting. It's not just actually the skills that you need technically or just tangibly to do, but also how to be a leader and how to have confidence in yourself and some of the things that are more ephemeral, I would think, when it comes to these sort of things.
Sure. I mean, we are a partnership with business and industry. It's not educators just doing education for the sake of education. So we partner with business and industry, and those business and industry people tell us about what they need. And one of the things we hear the most today through these advisory committees that we have with business partners is we need people who can show up to work on time, that can be ethical, that can be honest, that can do a good job at the workplace. And if you give us that, we can do the rest of it. And of course, the other part of it is drug testing and those sorts of things in California, which has become a real challenge lately.
I want to hear more, but we're going to have to take a short break and we'll come back and chat some more.
Great.
Clay and I are delighted now to be joined by Loretta Caballudao, who is the State Membership and Chapter Coordinator. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so what is it that you say to people or young people or parents or anyone that might be interested now in being part of SkillsUSA?
Whenever I have the opportunity to talk to a student's parent or guardian, I like to celebrate that their student has chosen this as a path. In most cases, you hear college is that direction. And when a student says that I want to be a carpenter or I want to be a chef, I celebrate that.
There's such a huge need. I mean, I think we forget all of the things that we need in order to have, a good life and good lifestyles.
There's such a huge need, especially here in California. There's a big skills gap, and we want to lead the way in bridging that.
Please welcome a real champion of SkillsUSA, Mr. Mike Rowe.
30,000 new members in SkillsUSA this year alone. 30,000? Are you kidding? Guys, this is incredible.
the state conferences, the national conferences. They sound very exciting for a young person to be able to participate in, especially people who may not have ever had that opportunity to go anywhere or do anything.
Absolutely. That is one of the highlights of a high schooler's experience, is to be able to travel outside of their school area and join us at conferences, our state conferences in Ontario, California, and they really get to see more of California and see that it's not just their school, but there's a big world out there for them.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, and I know you're a great role model. We've got lots more to talk about, but we'll be right back. Clay and I are delighted now to be joined by an alum of SkillsUSA, and a very talented one at that. Brian Gillespie, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Just fine.
So you, as an alum, you went straight out of one of the programs into a full-time gig in broadcasting, which you have been enormously successful in.
I learned about instant replay. I learned about maintenance repair. I learned about the cameras. And then I went on to become one of the supervisors over at Fox on Fox Sports. The message really is you got to learn it from the ground up. There's no easy way to do it.
Right. You have had a remarkable career, as I said, straight out of school, in an enormous array of different parts of the industry that changes on a second-by-second basis.
Mm-hmm. What interested me as a child was, I think, just broadcasting in general. My first field trip, believe it or not, that I ever went on was to KTLA here in Los Angeles. And they took me there, and they took me to the stages and everything. And on the way, the guy who was walking us around the lot, I saw the remote truck out there. And I said, man, that's really cool. What is that? Well, I said, oh, that's just a remote truck. Let's go this way. So I kind of stayed back, and I started talking to the guys, and they showed me the tape machines and all that other stuff. And that was it. I was sold. I said, I got to get into broadcasting.
SkillsUSA is a really important organization for our students because it allows them a bunch of different opportunities, not only to demonstrate their industry-specific skills, but also to demonstrate and learn leadership skills. And so for video production, that's the one we compete in. Other ones that our school competes in is Future Farmers of America for our horticulture teachers, and HOSA, which is our patient care pathway.
The number of kids that participate here is in the hundreds. I think we're the second or third largest school as far as enrollment within the entire LA Unified School District. The self-confidence that the kids get through going through the competitive process as well as doing the service projects, it takes it and makes it into a much richer program versus just do the assignment, turn it in, get a grade. They're out, they're meeting with business people, they're meeting with industry folks, they're having guest speakers coming in, they get a chance to go on some tours, sometimes they might go to a trade show, and they get involved in a much richer environment than is traditionally available in a single class period that you'd have in a normal course.
So you begin with, I would say, middle school students, do you not?
Mm-hmm. Middle school students, high school students, and college post-secondary students. Largest organization in the nation with SkillsUSA. We have more middle school students than any other state in the United States. We have more high school students and more college post-secondary folks. So it is a growing organization, and we work real hard to make sure that we reach as many students as possible. Even with our size, we have the potential to serve over 500,000 students in the state of California.
Hi, I'm Umaima Rashid. Welcome to LA Currents. Today we're here with the lovely Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, psychology expert, community activist, and president of the NAACP chapter out of Council District 15. Welcome, Dr. Bryant.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and specifically how you came to be president of the NAACP chapter?
I'm in private practice as a doctor, life coach. I own the Dr. Bryant Institute, where we focus on personal and professional development by offering online courses. We train different companies that are in the mental health, psychology, or the life coaching sector. We also do different unity and anti-racism trainings for different school districts, companies, and et cetera. And as far as NAACP, you know, I was already doing a lot of community work prior to becoming not only a member, but being able to have the privilege of being the president of our branch. And, you know, just even from being a child in adolescence and junior high school and high school, I was always the one who was for the underdog. I was the one who would fight for the rights of the abled students that were in my school. It's to make sure that they got treated fairly. And I never lived in dogma. I didn't have a problem with individuals thinking that, you know, what was wrong with me, or maybe why was I so passionate about that. It was always something that was very close to my heart. And so as I transitioned from adolescence into adulthood, that fight didn't silence. It got louder, and it became more important, and it became more stronger for me. Obviously, as a double minority, being a woman, I should say triple minority, being a woman, being African American, and also having Latina in me. And so, you know, my fight continued. And when I met my VP, and who was also the founder of our NAACP, Joe Gatlin, he said, look, you know, you'd be amazing in this position. You already do this work. But you'd be able to do this work that you're already passionate about with a whole team. You know, the saying is, you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, you go as a team. And I told Joe, I said, let me sleep on it, because this is a big responsibility. And one thing about myself, I don't commit to something that I can't give my all to. My all meaning not just my heart, but my time and my dedication. And so I said, Joe, let's rock and roll. And from that day forward, it's been, you know, boots to the ground. And it has been an honor to be able to serve our branch, to serve not only our Black community, but to serve our people in our community as a whole.
And I know we talked a lot about your work with the NAACP, but I know that your passion is around, you know, the work you do in psychology and around mental health. So can you talk about how the mental health work that you do contributes to the work that you do with the NAACP in that heart space? Absolutely.
So, you know, as far as the mental health piece, I was doing that obviously before I became president of NAACP, and that allowed me to be privy into the psychological, I should say, you know, disparities and concerns and issues of African American males, African American people. Let me go a little further, the behavior of human beings in general. And so what that did was that gave me an even more compassionate heart. And what understanding does is, again, it gives you empathy, because now you understand, and when you understand something, it eliminates or demises your judgment towards that something. And it allowed me to be more of a vessel, more of service, and to understand that as I'm helping, some of the things that I don't yet understand come through me being of service. That's where that understanding does come in. If I don't understand, then psychologically have the balance of just being of service, not for the sake of understanding, but for the sake of being of service and helping that other person get to where they need to be, which our goal is a better quality of life. And my goal as Dr. Bryant Institute is a better quality of life. Just a quick example, I don't know if you recall the Palos Verdes School District incident that our NAACP had to go up and address. Well, Palos Verdes School District now has, because of our branch, now has to implement a unity and anti-racism training to all of their staff within the entire district because of our branch, because of this ongoing racism that they have been having and that they have failed to address. Now every year they have to implement that training. And that dealing with that incident allowed me to have compassion for that principal at Palos Verdes High School. It allowed me to have a deeper understanding of his psychological space, of where he may have been. And the unique piece about that is that compassion part and that understanding part. I talked about how it demises your judgment. When I walked into his office, because I was able to have that balance of my training in the field of psychology, in demising my judgment, I look behind him, and now, mind you, he's a Caucasian principal, tall, big, corn-fed looking guy. Nothing about him looks very minority-ish or, African-American blended. And I look back and I see these 2 or 3 beautiful mixed black kids, and I say, "Excuse me, sidebar, are those your babies?" He goes, "Yeah." Wow. I said, "Wow, you have a black family. You got black kids." He goes, "Yeah." So I say that to say that you never know psychologically where somebody stands until you have that conversation. And I always say every issue, every concern is just a conversation away from the resolution.
Yeah.
And so that's how I am able to blend it. And I do use a lot of my tools when I'm dealing with our men in regard to like our spongement program, our reentry program that we're attempting to create. So it definitely helps, and sometimes my tools do carry over in the community work that I do.
Absolutely. So you talked a little bit about your mental health work specific to African American men and African American women, and what do you see as some of the resounding issues that we as a community need to kind of focus on when it comes to mental health?
First and foremost, I am a very spiritual woman, and I believe in God. Obviously, I mentioned, God a few times in our conversation. But as African American community, we have to understand that, faith without works is dead. Mm-hmm. The faith part is a prayer. That's awesome. But then the work part is going to see a therapist and seeking out that help, or going to see your life coach. Church, again, for our community has been the foundation of where we go for our problems, where we go for our prayer, where we go for our empowerment. But that seems to no longer be our go-to as a community. Now our go-to is pretty much to isolation, and isolation is a sickness. Isolation breeds depression. And so we have to be able to get to a space of really educating our Black community on the importance of mental health, 1. 2, we have to have, it's imperative that we have culture competent therapists and life coaches. Lastly, at the schools, we need to have psychologists that look like me, that look like you. That look like little Erica, little Johnny, whatever that means, because again, they are treating a culture and a race that they're not competent on, and not all. There are some very competent non-minority therapists and coaches and psychologists, but for the most part, in order for our kids to trust a therapist and a psychologist enough to open up so that they can be effectively treated, they have to know that you understand them and that there's not a judgment, and that your job as a therapist is not to project your values on them, to say, "Hey, do it this way because this is my norm." Is to say, "Let me understand your way at which doing it, because maybe that's working for you, but we just got to tweak it a little bit, and then you can keep it."
Yeah.
We don't want to strip them of their identity, because that's another thing that our Black community, especially our Black men, are suffering, is identity crisis. No one looks like them. No one's telling them it's okay to be you. But maybe let's shift some things. You don't have to rip away your whole identity. Just shift it a little bit. And allow people to be their authentic self, because that's what the true liberation is. And through liberation, we get peace.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Again, to the understanding. And not only is Dr. Bryant that does work in psychology and president of the NAACP chapter, but she also has a book called Mental Detox, and a success workshop that is happening later this year. If you want to learn more about the work that Dr. Bryant does, you can visit her website at drbryant.co. You can also find her on Instagram at _Dr. Bryant. And if you want to learn more about your NAACP chapter, you can visit naacp.org/find-local-unit. I want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you for all the information you shared, all the understanding that you shared, all the empathy you share, and just thank you for the work that you're doing in our community. It's much appreciated, and we appreciate you for coming. Thank you.
And thank you for using your platform for things that are much important like this and needed. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. This is LA Currents, and I'm Umaima Rashid. We'll see you next time.